The case that I'm going to be looking into today is another Jane Doe case. It was a suggestion. It is the Bedgebury Forest Jane Doe. And this case is actually from 1979. Sadly, today it still remains unsolved and we still have no clue who this woman is. So I always hope that, one day they will get their identity back at the very least. But yeah, let's jump into the case. On the 23rd of October in 1979, a horse rider was actually going through Bedgebury Forest, which is near Goudhurst in Kent. It's a really popular place. It's for walkers, horse riders, dog walkers, families to go and have picnics. It's really, really lovely. And in recent years, since this body was found, it's been modernised. So it's just really, really beautiful. And they've got lots of trails and treks. They have beautiful Christmas lights on at Christmas. It's a really nice place to be, an outdoors place to be. And again, like I said, there's horse riders, and this is who would stumble upon the gruesome discovery. Under one of the trees down on a walking trail, a horse rider was going out on a hack, and it's believed the body wasn't very well hidden, and they found it on the track. On the trail, it was off to the side and under the tree. Wasn't very well hidden, like I said, but it's believed that it wasn't actually spotted by walkers and things going past because of the height advantage that you get when you're on a horse, pretty much. So because this person was higher up, they were able to notice the body really easily. This body as well, it was of a woman. She had been brutally injured. She had brutal injuries around her head, like head trauma. And it was certainly no doubt about it that this lady was the victim of a murder. So the person on the horse rode back and contacted the police immediately. She had a lot of facial injuries, so they knew straight away that it was going to be really hard to identify this lady. She had no bag or anything found around her, no ID, no nothing. And something very strange about the case was that the murder weapon was found close by. It was a really sharpened stick. It was a sharp stake. My question is, was it like they just ripped it off a tree and stabbed her with it? Or, well, smashed her with it? Oh, crap. It don't need to be sharp to smash someone with it. I was thinking vampire stake, with the sharpened edge, and just ignore me. I don't even know what I'm going on about there. So obviously, if she had blunt force trauma to the head, they used it to bash her with. So this stake was found with blood all over it, and it was the murder weapon. They figured that she'd probably been there for about 5 days, and again, it wasn't noticed because of where her body was positioned, even though nobody tried to hide it. It was just that you couldn't really see it just walking through. Maybe the bushes and stuff were kind of a little bit high up, so someone walking wouldn't have seen it, but someone on a horse looking down saw it easily. Anyway, she was found wearing certain clothing. I will put up a picture of it. It was a handmade dress, and it wasn't made using traditional dressmaking fabric. It was actually used. It was furniture fabric, I think, that was used to make this. My gosh, English is hard for me today. Yeah, so it wasn't the traditional thing. So they knew it was handmade and would hopefully try and find out who had done this, where it had come from. Police really did think that maybe that would lead to identifying her. But sadly, her case would go cold for a very long time. Due to DNA developments in 1998, the case did reopen again. I mean, no case is fully ever closed or anything like that, but they re-looked into it again, and they had some ideas about this woman. They thought that she might have been a hitchhiker, that she had links to the north and the London area, and also that she probably lived a poorer lifestyle, because what I failed to mention when they looked and went over her body to find the autopsy and whatnot, she had a lot of dental problems, very poor dental hygiene, which made them believe that she sadly couldn't afford to visit a dentist, and therefore getting sort of, sometimes you can identify people through their teeth, but they figured that they wouldn't be able to because it seemed like she never actually went to any of them, and that's probably because she couldn't afford it, sadly. So that happened in 98, and then in 99 they came out with this arrest. They arrested a guy for her murder, which was quite shocking, and it was a guy called Harry Pennells. He was arrested in January. Now, basically, when he was arrested, he was 75 years old from East Sussex. He was a retired lorry driver, and he was known for driving lorries in 79, which is obviously when our poor Jane Doe was murdered. He was working for Henley Transport, which was based in Goldhurst, which is where the victim was actually found. And he was in the area around the time that she was found too. That all of that is known for certain. Most damningly was they did find blood and DNA of the Jane Doe in his car at the time. They did question this guy at the time, like 3 times, but they never pressed any charges because they didn't have enough evidence to like try him or anything. So he had a sleeping bag in his truck, and some fibers from that was found on her. Her DNA was in there, and they also found her blood, which, okay, you're thinking, great, this is definitely the correct person, because why on earth would her blood be in there? Well, something I haven't actually told you is that when our Jane Doe passed away, it's thought that she had a child before, and this child could now be into the 50s because she has like stretch marks on her belly and she has some scarring on her womb. So she's probably got a child out there somewhere, but she was pregnant again. Now this sadly was an ectopic pregnancy, which a lot of the time these pregnancies end up in the fallopian tubes, and that is where they latch on, and sadly they're not viable because they're not even in the right place and they can't grow. And because it's in the tube, it grows and grows to a certain extent, and then it bursts through the tube and it causes a lot of bleeding, and people can actually die from it. So she had an ectopic pregnancy, and this could have been potentially where the blood was coming from, which, because of the late stages of this pregnancy, it was thought that she was getting up to the point where it would rupture soon. So doctors have said that she would have been bleeding and been in a lot of pain for at least 2 to 3 weeks before that happened, before she passed away. So that explains the blood that's in his cab. Because he did admit to picking her up. He admitted to picking up a hitchhiker in London. He then drove her to Yorkshire and then back to the southeast. Now, like I said, they questioned him at the time of this happening because they had witnesses to say that a person that sort of matched her general description was seen in his cab at the time, like a hitchhiker. So he was questioned all about it. He said that he picked her up hitchhiking. He never did it with regards to a sexual nature. He did it just to help her. She originally wanted to eventually go back home to London, but then she said that something about her landlord wasn't actually in, and so she said there's no point in taking me back to London, so she ended up going elsewhere instead. He apparently dropped her off and never thought about it ever again. They went to trial and everything. The police really thought they had a solid case, and I get it because they did have the blood, but she was also said to be bleeding from her ectopic pregnancy that was just about to rupture. So to me, I'm not saying he didn't do it. He could have very well done it. I have no idea. However, if there is reasonable doubt in a case, the jury cannot convict, and so he was found not guilty of the crime, and he was let go, and that was that. He's always maintained his innocence, and he just said that he wanted to live his life peacefully and forget all about it, because obviously if he didn't do it, he's been accused of committing a crime that he didn't do. And if he did do it, he got away with murder, I suppose. But yeah, it's really, really heartbreaking, because you think you've got the blood, you've got the DNA, it's definitely him. But because of the circumstances, it might not have been. So yeah, it's really frustrating that. But he did say that she said her name was potentially Margaret. The missing persons Doe. The Doe website is actually has said that she was identified as Margaret, I think, but that's incorrect, because we still don't know her identity. And I wonder whether that's where they got it from. Also, some newspapers have said that she was called Margaret, but we just don't actually know. I wanted to go back to the dress as well, because I've done this case all gobbledygook. The dress was featured, the case was featured on Crime Watch a couple of times, and on one occasion, somebody actually came forward to say that they had made this dress, because like I said, it was so unique. It also been taken in twice around the chest area and the hem, I believe. So they were looking as to whomever created the dress or whoever adjusted it. Someone came forward to say that they actually made the dress for their mother, but then they ended up giving it to a charity shop. And this was in the Midlands. And the woman who made it gave a detailed description of the dress. So this is how the police knew that it had actually been adjusted. Apparently, like I said, it was adjusted in the two places to fit a smaller frame, which our Jane Doe was a smaller lady. And it had got a zip from the back removed too. So they did really put out trying to get information on who had done this, but I mean, it could have been herself for all we know. She might have been really good with that kind of aspect of it, and so maybe she did it herself. But yeah, they tried to find out who had done that, but they had no luck. And I mean, if she did it herself, obviously they're not going to have any luck on that one. It was also suggested that RJ Doe may have been a working woman, as in, you know what I mean. Maybe she worked in Spitalfields in London. If you go by Harry's account, like I said, he said that she wanted to go to Liverpool. Sorry, it was Liverpool, not London. Then she went against that, and she was driven to Bradford. Then she wanted to come back south, and he dropped her off at a pub on the A20 in Eltham. This was on the 20th. Two witnesses did come forward to say that they saw her after this time, which was on the 22nd of October. But we still have no idea who she is. Is she this Margaret lady that Harry says that she is? Or is that just a load of rubbish? There have been speculation that it could have been Peter Sutcliffe who did this, the Yorkshire Ripper, but who actually knows? It's really, really devastating that we don't know who she is. We don't know who killed her. And I mean, we might never find out that now at this stage. But at the very least, we could give her a name back, give her family, because it is believed she has some child out there. Give them some peace of mind as to what happened to their mother, whether they ever knew her or not. Do you know what I mean? Because maybe she had a child and maybe she adopted it out or something. Who knows? I mean, other things could have happened. But I'm going to go along with that she has a child out there somewhere. And just if they just put their DNA into some sort of database, and maybe we could finally find out who she was. I really, really got my fingers crossed on this one. And it is so heartbreaking as to what happened to her. But yeah, that is her case. And if you have enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for similar content. Anyway, that's all I have today for you guys. And I guess I'll see you in the next one. Bye.